When you're saving money for retirement, you have the choice of two different types of IRAs. You can put your money into a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, and it can be confusing trying to figure out which one is best. In this video, I'm going to explain the pros and cons of each in a very easy to understand way to help you figure out which IRA is right for you. Before we get into today's video, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Dan. And this channel is all about money. We talk about ways to make money, ways to save money, and how to make smarter decisions with your money. If that sounds interesting to you, make sure you subscribe. With that, let's get started. Let's start off by talking about what a traditional IRA is and what a Roth IRA is. These are both retirement accounts where you're going to put money aside for your retirement. The main difference between the two has to do with how they're taxed. And how they're taxed is really the only difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. With a traditional IRA, you're going to save money on your taxes today. So you'll put money into the IRA and you'll be able to deduct that off your taxes. So it's going to lower your tax bill today. The catch is that when you take money out, the government's going to want their tax money. So they're going to tax you on the money when you take it out in retirement. When you put money into a Roth IRA, you don't get any tax deduction today. You're putting after-tax money in there. What I mean by after-tax money is this is the money that's in your paycheck, the money that you take home, the money that you would use to buy groceries or pay your rent or any other expenses. Now, the real benefit to the Roth IRA comes in when you retire. When you take money out of the Roth IRA, you don't have to pay any taxes on it. It's 100% tax-free. Not paying any taxes on that money when you withdraw it leaves you with a lot more money. Let me give you an example with numbers to show you how the traditional IRA and the Roth IRA work. Let's say hypothetically you put $6,000 into a traditional IRA, and that money grows over a number of decades, and by the time you retire, it's grown to be $100,000. Because you didn't pay taxes on that money when you put it in, you've got to pay taxes on the money when you take it out. We don't know what tax rates are going to be in the future. They could be higher, they could be lower. Nobody knows. Let's just say for this example, you've got to pay 30% tax. So you've got $100,000 in your account, but you've got to pay $30,000 in taxes. So you're left with $70,000. That $30,000 is a huge tax bill. If you compare that with the Roth IRA, remember, you don't get a tax deduction when you put your money in the Roth IRA. You're using after-tax money. So let's just say in the same example, you put $6,000 into your Roth IRA, and that money also grows over a number of years, and it's worth $100,000 when you retire. When you withdraw that money, no taxes due. That entire $100,000 is yours. So you withdraw that $100,000 and you can spend the whole thing on whatever you want to. So $100,000 in a traditional IRA is only worth $70,000, where $100,000 in a Roth IRA is worth the entire $100,000. That's a huge difference. With a traditional IRA, you have to pay taxes when you take it out, but remember, you did get a tax break when you put that money in, and you may need that to lower your taxes today. Another thing to be aware of with a traditional IRA is it's not very flexible. Once you put that money in, you've really got to keep it in until you retire. If for some reason you need to take it out, there's a pretty big penalty. The IRS is going to charge you a 10% penalty to take the money out. Plus you've got to pay the taxes on it. That can really add up. Depending on your tax bracket, you could lose half the money. So if you take out $10,000, you may only be left with $5,000. The Roth IRA is way more flexible as far as taking money out. If something comes up, maybe you have an emergency, or maybe even you're buying your first house and you need a down payment, you can withdraw the money that you put in and there's no penalty, there's no taxes due. You can't withdraw the growth. So if you put in $5,000 and it grew to $6,000, you can't take out that extra $1,000 that you didn't put in. It's just the account growing. But you can always take out the money that you put in. There's another big difference, and that has to do with when you retire. When you reach a certain age, there's a thing called an RMD. RMD stands for Required Minimum Distribution, and that's money that the government is going to make you withdraw. With a traditional IRA, when you reach that age, you're going to have to start withdrawing a particular amount of money from your IRA. With a Roth IRA, there's no RMD requirement, so you can take money out when you need it, but you're not being told how much to withdraw. With a Roth IRA, you never need to withdraw that money. You can let it sit there for as long as you want. With a Roth IRA, that money is always tax-free. Even when you pass away, when your kids inherit it, there's no taxes due. With a traditional IRA, your kids are going to have to pay taxes on that money when they inherit it. As far as contribution limits, there is a $6,000 a year limit that you can put into an IRA. So you could put that $6,000 into a traditional IRA or into a Roth IRA, or you could even split it up and put $3,000 into a Roth, $3,000 into a traditional. However you want to do it, you just can't put in more than $6,000 in a year. And the year doesn't end on December 31st. You have until April 15th of the following year to make your contribution. This doesn't apply to most people, but there is an income limit. If you make over a certain amount of money, you won't be able to contribute to a Roth IRA, or you may not be able to contribute the entire amount. The income limits are constantly changing, so make sure you look that up if you are a high income earner to make sure that you can contribute. So bottom line, what's better? In my opinion, the Roth IRA is the greatest thing in the world. It's the greatest gift that the government has given us. I would 100% recommend that you do the Roth IRA. There could be situations where a traditional IRA does make more sense. For example, if you make a lot of money and you're having to pay a lot of tax, putting money into a traditional IRA will lower your tax bill, and that may make more sense. But with that being said, it's not going to lower your tax bill that much, and you're going to end up paying way more tax in the future when you reach retirement age. So if you can find a way to pay that tax, I would recommend putting money into the Roth IRA. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. That really helps this video reach more people with the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to learn about other ways that you can make money, save money, and be smarter with your money, make sure you subscribe and make sure you check out my other videos. I'll see you next time.